I think it goes without saying, back in the 80s, we had the greatest choices of cartoons. And there's a lot of good ones. There's G.I. Joe, there's Transformers, Thundercats, and the list goes on and on. I could sit here all day and name them. But when you have to pick a favorite, that's a toughie. But you know, the one that didn't fail and I kept going back to was the original He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoon. I just always felt that cartoon had something special to it. Now, it was done by Filmation, and Filmation is notorious for reusing shots. And so you watch it and you do notice, yeah, they reused a lot of shots. But there was something cool. It was like really simple and really complicated at the same time. And it was perfect for kids, but an adult could sit down and have fun with it too. And, you know, some of the Sunbow Transformers and G.I. Joe episodes didn't really translate that well after, growth and looking back. I mean, there's still some episodes that really rock, but let's face it. The one that I think seems to be more consistent was the He-Man episodes. I mean, they were pretty cool. The opening does kind of give you a weird sense. It's like, just one day Prince Adam decided to hold up his sword and say, by the power of Grayskull. For no real reason. And of course, the disguise of He-Man being simply a tan version of Adam with no discernible differences. That's kind of weird. So I will say there is a suspension of belief that needs to be withheld in watching these old shows. But at the same time, it's really freaking awesome. And I just always enjoyed it. As such, when it was announced that there would be a subline from the Filmation series, I went, yeah, absolutely. I was on board immediately. And now I'm getting these figures in hand, and it's like, ooh, you know what? This is exactly what I wanted as a kid. So come with me now as I take a look at the line from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the Filmation line. Now, however many years ago it was when the Masters of the Universe Origins line started, I didn't really get into it. I kind of saw it and was like, that's kind of cool. But didn't buy any of them. I just wasn't too interested. I'm kind of glad I did that. And kind of glad I've waited till now, because these really fit kind of what I wanted. Let's start off with He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe, as is said on the card. And he's cool. I like him. I like him a great deal. He can stand up straight, unlike most He-Man figures. Now, of course, him standing up straight causes his briefs to look a little bit less than what they are, covering up less real estate. But everything remains covered on the fur loincloth, so let's not worry about that. Now, some people might get turned off by the lack of detail in the belt and the gauntlets, but I mean, if you really think about it, if this is a cartoon line, that is cartoon accurate. They just threw it on there and didn't have any detail. So that kind of works. The face sculpt, I mean, you look at it and it's like, yeah, okay, that is the cartoon He-Man. But it's like, I don't know. It's kind of off a little bit. And it took me a bit to put my finger on it. And I finally did. It's because he has no expression. Because most of the time, He-Man had some form of expression in the show. It's very rare that he had a very non-expressive face. And that kind of makes sense if you think about it, because you want to have your characters have expressive faces. Now, you get away with it with some characters, but your main character, you don't. And that's why I think with He-Man, this looks so odd, because it's like, why does he look so weird? And then it like hit me. He's not got that little smirk. He's not got that worried look. He's not got, any of those expressions we're used to seeing with our He-Man figures. Or even in the cartoon. So that does kind of freak you out the first time you see it, and you're just going, that's a bad head sculpt. But then you think about it, and it's like, oh wait, yeah, this works. Okay, this is right. It's just you never saw him without some sort of expression on his face. And he comes with, of course, his power sword, and of course he has a scabbard to put it in, which is really awesome. And he comes with another sword. I'm not sure where this sword came from. It just recently came to my realization I may not have seen all the episodes of He-Man and Masters of the Universe despite living through it. I did not realize there was 155 episodes until I got the box set, which was only this year. So I may have missed one or two. But I don't remember this sword at all. I'm sure it might be something important. And I'm sure as I'm going through the series, I'll find it. And I'm not watching it in order, by the way. I'm putting it in randomly on the DVD player. So it's very possible it could be an earlier episode, and I totally had just forgotten about it. But either way, it's nice to have extra accessories. And the cool thing is, the sword fits snugly into his scabbard, almost too snugly. It was really hard to get it out. You really got to yank at it to get it out of the scabbard once you put it in there. And that's a cool feature because, that's typically where He-Man held the sword, was on his back. And he only pulled the sword out when he needed to fight Skeletor. The bad guy. And I think that was one thing I really liked about He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It was very basic. Good versus evil. The lines were there. It was pretty cut and dry. That sounds simplistic. But sometimes simplistic just works. And I think it's also why, in Revolution, I kind of got turned off by the ending. Because the good versus evil was not as cut and dry anymore. You had a redemption arc for Keldor, which to me should not happen. That's my mind talking. I just didn't think it should have happened. And this is much simpler and more fun to me. So I'm going to go with Filmation Saga and not worry about new animation that tries to make these characters into something they're not. Or at least in my opinion, anyway. This is a solid figure. I really like it. I'm glad I waited so long. The articulation is fantastic. I mean, it's shoulders and elbows, wrists, knees, hips, and boot cut, even rocker ankles. It's just like, yeah, this is what I would ask for in a Masters of the Universe figure modernized. This is just right. This is just right for the amount of articulation. It's really cool. As far as comparing with other figures, I mean, he kind of does scale into Marvel Legends, although he's much beefier. It's kind of weird because I don't think I've ever had a He-Man or any Masters of the Universe that actually fits to scale with other lines. I mean, the proportions are a little off. Like I said, he's a little big. He's got big arms and big chest, but he's He-Man, so, he's going to. And he's got that cartoon aesthetic, so that's going to be weird, too. But he doesn't look bad at all. Looks like that He-Man Conan fight might happen. All in all, a great figure. I really like him. And yeah, it's just really awesome. I'm so glad I've got this figure. I really am. I need to figure out where he's going, but you know what? That's okay, because this is the figure I wanted. This is the figure I wanted when I was a kid. I mean, this is what I wanted. I got what was available, but this is what I wanted. And that makes it so much better. That'll wrap up Motu Monday. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to do all the YouTube stuffs later.